Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. Thanks for joining us again. This is webinar number 3 in our Mastering Innovation Ops series. It's a product management as a catalyst for success. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Paul Heller. I'm your host. I'm the Sopheon Chief Evangelist, and I work with companies to help them be successful at innovation. I also speak about it, blog about it, and run a weekly podcast on innovation. So if you're interested in innovation topics where I talk with some of the best experts out there, please join me in my weekly podcast. I'd love to have you listen in. We are in the third part of this series. So in part number 1, we talked about what innovation ops is, and we talked about synchronizing people, processes, and jobs. And we specifically focused on managing discovery in our second episode. So today's episode number 3, we're going to be talking about managing products. So if you want to go back and look at either of those previous episodes, please do. They're on the Sopheon website, and you can always go back and review those. So today's speaker, I'd like to introduce Brian Utz. And Brian is a seasoned product professional. He's worked in various businesses ranging from retail to finance. He has tremendous amount of experience with product management, and he now helps lead Sopheon's products. He's seen all sorts of companies, small scale, large scale, and he's seen how product management works and doesn't work. So with that kind of experience, it's a real pleasure to have Brian join us today. So Brian, welcome, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Always a pleasure to be here with you and talking about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, right, in product management. And as you said, I've had an experience to be able to do this at a lot of different organizations. And I'm excited to talk a little bit about what it means to be a catalyst for success. And I thought I'd start there a little bit to add a little context. You'll see us talking about product management, product managers, and products a lot in this presentation. And I want to make sure everyone on the call understands products can be defined a ton of different ways, right? We can see e-commerce companies that define not only the e-commerce website as a product, but also their entire fulfillment chain, right? Going from order processing all the way through to things like if they have brick and mortar stores, getting applications in the hands of their store associates. So lots of different product definitions. In chemicals, you might see a substrate be a product. In CPG companies, you would see something like a Hershey Kiss or a bag of Hershey Kisses defined as a product. And you'll also see different titles there, right? So it may not be product management as an organization or product managers as the titles. You may see brand managers or solution managers. So just know that these terms are kind of interchangeable depending on what industry you're in. So first, I wanted to start with the definition of what is a catalyst. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a bit of a nerd. My undergraduate degree is from the University of Florida, and it was in microbiology and cell science. So I'm always a little pumped when I get the nerd out and apply a little bit of my learning to my current life. And for the scientists in the room, this chart will look pretty familiar, right? The technical definition of a catalyst is something that increases the frequency of successful collisions in a reaction and a greater proportion of collisions exceeding a lower activation energy. So it lowers the energy required in order to make a successful collision in a chemical reaction. So why does this matter and why is it so important in chemistry? Well, if you have a reaction that requires you to put energy into the system to make that reaction happen, adding a catalyst means you have to spend less money generating that energy to make the reaction happen. And this is what's kind of demonstrated here on this graph. I feel like the next example might resonate a little bit better with a lot of people. So this is for the parents in the room. So we have this adorable little man here. This is my youngest, Xavier, and he can get into his car seat and buckle his car seat and do that all by himself. He might have a lot of miss collisions, trying to get things into the right slots. But eventually we'll end up here, right? We'll end up with a successful reaction, getting me to the product of a happy, sleepy kid in the back of my truck. And that requires a lot of energy on his part, might require a lot of patience on my part because it takes a long time. But if we add a catalyst, then that successful collision will happen a lot faster and a lot more frequently, right? Even if I'm just positioning things, so whenever he pushes, they go in together successfully, it saves him a lot of energy, saves us all a lot of time. So that's great, real cute kid, Brian. Thanks for the science lesson. What does this have to do with product management or my organization at all? Well, let's talk about that. What does it mean for product managers to be catalysts? Well, hopefully this doesn't look too familiar, but I think this will start to resonate with a lot of people as well in your organization. You tend to have sales over here, R&D in another silo, marketing in another silo, operations in another silo, right? And passing information, passing work, driving alignment between these organizations takes a lot of energy, right? It takes a lot of work to make sure all of these groups are on the same page. It tends to remind me a little bit of the story of, the 4 or 5 people touching different parts of an elephant. One person's touching the trunk and saying, oh, this is definitely a snake. Another person's touching the tail and saying, no, this is definitely a rope. Somebody else is touching the side and saying, oh, it's a wall. Somebody else is touching the ear and saying, no, this is a fan. So because they're in one part of the organization, they all have their own goals. They're all trying to achieve their goals. It tends to put a different lens on the problem, right? And so in here, we have our product organization or product person come in. Okay, they may not actually wear a cape. It may actually just be somebody like myself in your organization, but they really act as the hub, right? They act as the facilitator to lower the amount of energy that all of these groups have to expend in order to get successful solutions out to their customers. So that's what we mean when we talk about product management or product managers as catalysts in your organization driving success.